The alien market was loud and colorful, filled with creatures of every shape and size. The air smelled strange, like burning metal and sweet fruit mixed together. Vendors shouted in different languages, trying to sell rare goods from across the galaxy. In the middle of this chaos, a human named Ryan stood with his arms crossed. He was tall, strong, and covered in dust from the long space journey. His brown eyes scanned the crowd, looking for the reason he had come here. Then he saw her. A young alien woman stood in front of a massive crowd. She had blue skin, silver eyes, and long dark hair that shimmered under the artificial lights. She wore a warrior's outfit, tight armor covering her arms and legs, with a long cape flowing behind her. She was from the Xeleri race, a proud species known for their strength and endurance. Her name was Zira. Zira pointed to a large stone pillar in the center of the market. The pillar was covered in glowing symbols, and at the top, there was a heavy golden orb. The challenge was simple. Whoever could climb the pillar, reach the top, and bring the orb down would win a prize. But there was a catch. The gravity on this planet was 3 times stronger than Earth's. Even the strongest aliens struggled to climb the pillar. Many had tried. All had failed. Zira stood with her arms crossed, smirking at the defeated challengers. "No one is strong enough," she said proudly. "No one can do it." Ryan stepped forward. "I'll try." The crowd went silent. Many turned to look at him, surprised. A human. Trying this challenge? Zira raised an eyebrow. "You, a human? You're too weak." Ryan smirked. "We'll see." The crowd murmured. Some laughed. Others whispered about humans. Some aliens had fought humans before and knew they were stronger than they looked. Ryan removed his jacket and stretched his arms. He walked toward the pillar and placed his hands on the rough surface. The stone was cold, but he could feel the energy pulsing from it. The gravity pulled at his body, making every movement heavy. He took a deep breath and jumped. The first few meters were easy. His muscles tensed as he grabbed onto a ledge and pulled himself up. The crowd gasped. Humans weren't supposed to be this strong. Zira's silver eyes widened. Ryan kept climbing. His fingers dug into the cracks of the stone, and his legs pushed against the heavy force pulling him down. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but he didn't stop. Halfway up, his arms started to burn. The weight was unbearable. Other aliens had fallen from this height, their bodies unable to handle the pressure. But Ryan was human. He gritted his teeth. His training on Earth had prepared him for this. Back home, he had climbed mountains, trained in heavy gravity simulations, and pushed his body beyond its limits. "Don't stop," he muttered to himself. "Higher, higher." The crowd was no longer laughing. They were staring. Zira clenched her fists. No one had ever made it this far. Ryan's fingers touched the top. His arms screamed in pain, but he didn't care. With a final pull, he lifted himself up, grabbed the golden orb, and held it tightly. He won. The market was silent. Then someone started clapping. More joined in. Within seconds, the entire crowd was cheering. Ryan looked down and smirked. He tossed the golden orb down, and Zira caught it. For the first time in her life, Zira was speechless. She stared at the human, completely shocked. Ryan jumped down, landing with a heavy thud. He dusted himself off and crossed his arms. "So, what's my prize?" Zira blinked, still struggling to find words. Finally, she smirked. "All right, human. You've got my attention." The market was still buzzing with energy. Ryan stood in the middle of the crowd, his arms crossed, waiting for Zira's response. The golden orb lay in her hands, its surface glowing softly under the artificial lights. She looked at the human, her silver eyes filled with something new. Respect. No one had ever climbed the pillar before. No one had ever won her challenge. She finally smirked and tossed the orb into a nearby container. Not bad, human. You're stronger than I thought. Ryan shrugged. Told you. The crowd murmured in excitement. A few aliens whispered to each other, amazed by what they had just seen. Humans weren't supposed to be this strong in high gravity. One large alien, covered in thick red scales, stepped forward. He was twice Ryan's size, with arms like tree trunks. You cheated, he growled. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Oh, and how did I cheat? The red-scaled alien sneered. Humans are weak. You must have used a trick. Zira turned to him, annoyed. He won fair and square, Gurnak. Gurnak didn't look convinced. He stepped closer, towering over Ryan. If you're so strong, then prove it. A fight. Right here, right now. The crowd gasped. Fights weren't uncommon in this market, but a duel challenge was serious. It meant no weapons, no outside help, just raw strength and skill. Ryan sighed. He had just climbed a gravity pillar, and now some alien wanted to test him. Do I get a prize for winning? He asked. Zira laughed. You like prizes, don't you? She thought for a moment, then grinned. All right, if you win, I'll give you something better than credits. I'll give you a chance to enter the HFY trials. The crowd exploded in shock. The HFY trials were legendary. Warriors from different species came to prove themselves in brutal challenges. Only the best survived. If Ryan won this fight, he would be allowed to compete. Gurnak cracked his knuckles. If you survive, human. Ryan smirked. Let's get this over with. The market cleared space. Aliens formed a circle around them, eager to watch the fight. A small robotic drone floated in the air, recording everything. Zira stepped forward, raising her hand. Rules are simple. No weapons. No killing. First one to fall or surrender loses. Ryan rolled his shoulders. His muscles still burned from climbing the pillar, but he wasn't about to back down. Zira dropped her hand. Begin. Gurnak charged like a rampaging beast. His massive fists swung at Ryan's head. Ryan ducked. Fast. Gurnak's punch missed, hitting the ground with a loud boom. The floor cracked. Dust flew into the air. Ryan didn't waste time. He dodged left, right, then countered. A sharp punch to Gurnak's side. The red-scaled alien barely flinched. He swung again. This time, Ryan couldn't dodge completely. The punch grazed his shoulder, sending a jolt of pain through his body. The crowd roared in excitement. Ryan gritted his teeth. This guy was strong, but not fast. He moved quickly, dodging another attack and landing 2 more punches, one to the ribs, one to the knee. Gurnak growled, annoyed. Stand still, human. Ryan just smirked. Make me. Gurnak roared and lunged. Big mistake. Ryan sidestepped, spun, and kicked him behind the leg. The giant alien lost balance. Ryan took his chance. He leaped, grabbing Gurnak's head, and used his full strength to slam him onto the ground. Boom. Silence. Dust settled. Gurnak lay on the ground, groaning. He tried to stand, but his body refused to move. The fight was over. Zira stepped forward, grinning. Winner, Ryan, the human. The crowd erupted. Cheers, laughter, even a few excited bets being settled. Ryan wiped the sweat from his forehead. Well, that was fun. Zira chuckled. You're more than just strong. You're smart. I like that. She extended her hand. Welcome to the HFY trials. Ryan shook her hand, a smirk on his face. This is just the beginning. The market was still buzzing with excitement after Ryan's victory. Aliens whispered to each other about the human who had beaten Gurnak. Some were impressed, others were confused. A human, stronger than its Zaluri warrior. Impossible. Ryan rolled his shoulders, still feeling the ache from the fight. Zira stood beside him, arms crossed, a small smirk on her face. I have to admit, human, you surprised me. Ryan chuckled. I get that a lot. Zira tapped a button on her wristband, and a holographic screen appeared in front of them. It displayed a massive arena, stone walls, metal gates, and bright energy shields surrounding the area. This, Zira said, is the Xeleri Trials Arena. If you really want to prove yourself, this is where you need to go. Ryan raised an eyebrow. And what exactly do I have to do? Zira grinned. Survive. The word hung in the air. Ryan glanced at the screen. Great, sounds easy. Zira laughed. Don't be so confident. The trials are designed to push warriors beyond their limits. You won't just be fighting. You'll be tested in strength, endurance, and strategy. Ryan crossed his arms. And if I win? Zira's silver eyes gleamed. Then you'll earn the title of Honorary Xeleri Warrior. And trust me, that's not something given easily. Ryan thought for a moment. He had already proven himself twice, first by climbing the gravity pillar, then by defeating Gurnak. The Xeleri trials were clearly the next challenge. I'm in, he said. Zira nodded. Good, follow me. The arena gates. A few hours later, Ryan stood in front of the Xeleri Trials arena. The giant gates loomed above him, carved with ancient symbols. The walls were made of reinforced stone, glowing faintly with energy. The arena was packed with aliens from different planets. Some came to watch, others came to compete. Zira walked beside Ryan, leading him through the crowded hall. Listen up, human. The trials have different stages. Each one will get harder. If you fail, you're out. If you survive, you move to the next round. Ryan nodded. Got it. Zira smirked. You'll be facing warriors from different species, fighters, hunters, even cyber-enhanced soldiers. You sure you're ready for this? Ryan flexed his fingers. You'll find out soon enough. As they reached the preparation area, a robotic voice echoed through the arena. Competitors, prepare for round one. The large gates in front of them slowly opened. Ryan took a deep breath and stepped inside. Round one, the gauntlet. The moment Ryan entered the arena, the ground shifted. Large metal pillars shot up from the floor, forming a maze. Traps activated. Spinning blades, fire pits, and falling debris turned the battlefield into a death course. The robotic voice spoke again. Round one, the gauntlet. Objective, reach the other side. Survive. Ryan narrowed his eyes. He wasn't facing an opponent this time. He was fighting the arena itself. A loud horn blared. The trial had begun. Ryan ran. The ground shook as stone slabs collapsed behind him. He dodged left, barely missing a spike that shot up from the floor. A spinning blade came straight for him. Ryan dove forward, rolling under it just in time. The blade sliced through the air, missing him by inches. The crowd cheered. Zira watched from the spectator stands, arms crossed. She muttered to herself, "Let's see how far you can go, human." Ryan kept moving. He climbed over a tall platform, but as he reached the top, the wall moved. "Seriously," he muttered. He jumped, grabbing onto a hanging rope just as the wall crashed down. His arms burned, but he held on. Halfway there. Suddenly, a mechanical beast emerged from the ground, a metal creature with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp claws. It let out a robotic screech and charged at Ryan. Ryan didn't stop. He grabbed a fallen metal rod and swung hard. The rod smashed into the beast's head, sending sparks flying. The creature staggered but didn't fall. Ryan didn't wait for it to recover. He sprinted toward the final obstacle, a giant rotating wheel with fire jets. The crowd held their breath. Ryan studied the pattern. The fire jets blasted every 3 seconds. The wheel turned at a steady speed. He had one chance. He took a deep breath. 3, 2, 1. He jumped. The wheel spun beneath him. Fire blasted just as he landed on the other side. Ryan rolled, hitting the ground, breathing hard. He made it. The crowd erupted in cheers. Zira smirked. Not bad, human. The robotic voice spoke again. Round 1 complete. Competitor Ryan advances to round 2. Ryan pushed himself up, breathing heavily. He looked up at the stands, meeting Zira's gaze. He smirked. I told you, I don't stop. Ryan stood in the center of the arena, catching his breath. His body ached from the gauntlet, but his eyes were sharp, focused. He had survived the first challenge, but he knew the next one would be even harder. Above him, the massive crowd cheered, shouting his name. Some aliens were impressed. Others still couldn't believe a human was making it this far. Zira leaned on the railing in the spectator stands, watching him with interest. You're full of surprises, human, she muttered. A deep mechanical voice echoed across the arena. Competitor Ryan, prepare for round 2. The ground beneath him shifted. The stone floor trembled, and a large gate began to rise. Ryan turned, narrowing his eyes at the dark tunnel in front of him. A strong smell of damp earth and metal filled the air. He could hear deep growling coming from inside. Zira smirked. Oh, this will be fun. The robotic voice spoke again. Round 2, the Beast Pit. Objective, defeat the creature. Survive. The crowd roared with excitement. Ryan sighed. Of course, why wouldn't there be a monster? Then he saw it. A massive 4-legged beast stepped out of the tunnel. It was covered in thick black scales, with glowing yellow eyes and sharp claws. Metal plates were attached to its body, and energy surged through wires along its back. A cybernetic predator. The beast let out a deafening roar. Ryan clenched his fists. All right, big guy. Let's see what you got. The horn blared. The beast charged. Ryan dodged just in time, rolling to the side as the creature's claws tore into the ground where he had stood. Dust and debris flew into the air. The beast was fast, too fast. Ryan had no weapons, just his instincts. He watched carefully, analyzing its movements. The way its muscles tensed before attacking. The way its metal plates glowed brighter before releasing energy. The beast lunged again, slashing with its claws. Ryan ducked, barely avoiding the attack. He moved to the side and punched the beast's leg. Bad idea. Pain shot through his fist. The scales were too thick, like hitting solid steel. The beast snarled and swung its massive tail. Ryan had no time to dodge. Wham! The tail hit him hard, sending him flying across the arena. He crashed into the ground, rolling several times before stopping. The crowd gasped. Zira's smirk faded. Get up, human. Ryan groaned, pushing himself to his knees. His vision blurred for a second, but he forced himself to stay focused. He wiped blood from his lip and stood. The crowd cheered again. The beast growled, stepping forward. It wasn't finished. Ryan took a deep breath. His punches wouldn't work. The scales were too tough. He needed another plan. Then he noticed something, the wires on the beast's back. Energy pulsed through them. Bingo, he muttered. The beast charged again. This time, Ryan didn't dodge. He ran toward it. Zira's eyes widened. What is he doing? At the last second, Ryan jumped. He landed on the beast's head, grabbing onto the metal plates for support. The creature roared and thrashed, trying to shake him off. Ryan held on tight, climbing toward the exposed wires. He grabbed one and pulled with all his strength. Sparks flew. The beast screamed, shaking violently. Ryan didn't stop. He grabbed another wire and ripped it out. The cybernetic plates flickered. The energy in the beast's body weakened. Ryan jumped off, rolling as he hit the ground. He turned and watched. The beast took a shaky step forward. Its glowing eyes dimmed. Then with a final groan, it collapsed. Silence. Then the crowd erupted in cheers. Ryan wiped sweat from his forehead. Well, that was fun. Zira smirked. Unbelievable. The robotic voice announced, "Round 2 complete. Competitor Ryan advances to round 3. Ryan glanced up at the stands, locking eyes with Zira. He smirked. "I told you. I don't stop." Ryan stood in the center of the arena, breathing heavily. His body ached from the fight with the cybernetic beast, but he was still standing. The alien crowd around him cheered louder than ever. He had passed 2 rounds, but he knew this wasn't over yet. Zira leaned against the railing, watching him with a thoughtful expression. "This human is something else," she muttered to herself. Then the arena lights dimmed. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the massive stadium. "Competitor Ryan, prepare for round 3. The ground beneath Ryan shifted again. 4 massive pillars rose from the floor, each one covered in glowing blue energy. The air around them crackled with power. Ryan narrowed his eyes. Great, another surprise. The robotic voice spoke again. Round 3, the trial of endurance. Objective, survive until the clock runs out. Ryan frowned. Survive? Survive what? Then he heard it. A deep rumbling sound. The ground vibrated under his feet. From the far side of the arena, several gates opened. And from those gates they came. Dozens of combat droids, tall, sleek machines with glowing red eyes and built-in weapons. Their metal bodies reflected the arena lights as they marched forward with mechanical precision. Ryan's face tightened. Of course, why wouldn't there be killer robots? The robotic voice announced, "Trial begins in 3, 2, 1. Start." The horn blared. The droids charged. Ryan moved. The first droid fired a plasma shot. Ryan rolled to the side, barely avoiding the blast. The ground where he stood exploded in a shower of sparks. He didn't get time to rest. Another droid attacked, swinging a sharp metal blade. Ryan ducked, twisted his body, and countered with a powerful kick. His foot slammed into the droid's head, sending it stumbling backward. Another one rushed at him. Ryan grabbed its arm, twisting it at an unnatural angle. Metal creaked. With a sharp pull, he ripped the limb off and used it as a weapon. Wham! He smashed the droid's own arm against its head, making it collapse in a heap of metal. But more were coming. Ryan turned and sprinted toward one of the glowing pillars. He had noticed something. The energy field around them flickered. That meant they could be used. A droid lunged at him. Ryan jumped, grabbed the side of the pillar, and climbed. The energy field shocked his fingers, but he ignored the pain and pulled himself up. The droids turned their heads upward, scanning for him. One of them aimed a cannon. Ryan jumped. The plasma shot missed. Ryan flipped in midair and landed behind the droid. Before it could turn, he grabbed its head and slammed it into the ground. The crowd exploded with cheers. Zira's eyes widened. He's using the arena itself to fight. Ryan wasn't done. He turned and ran toward the next pillar. The droids followed. Plasma shots whizzed past him. Then he saw his chance. He suddenly stopped, turned, and kicked the ground. Dust flew up into the air, blinding the droids. They hesitated. Ryan took the opportunity. He grabbed a broken droid's power core and threw it. Boom. The explosion tore through several droids, sending sparks flying everywhere. But the clock was still ticking. 30 seconds left. The remaining droids rushed him all at once. Ryan clenched his fists. All right, one last round. He charged straight at them. He weaved between attacks, dodging, countering, striking. His fists slammed into metal, his legs kicked down enemies, and his mind stayed sharp. 10 seconds left. A droid raised its cannon. Ryan jumped, grabbed its arm, and twisted. The plasma blast shot into another droid, frying its circuits. 3 seconds. Ryan ducked, rolled, and slammed his foot into the last droid's head, knocking it down. BEP, BEP, BEP. The timer ended. Silence. Then the crowd roared. Ryan stood in the middle of the broken droids, breathing hard. He had won. The robotic voice announced, "Round 3 complete. Competitor Ryan advances to round 4. Ryan looked up at Zyra. She was grinning. "I told you," Ryan said, smirking. "I don't stop." To be continued. Ryan stood in the center of the arena, his chest rising and falling as he caught his breath. Around him, the remains of the destroyed droids lay scattered across the battlefield. Smoke still rose from the last explosion. The alien crowd erupted with cheers. Above, Zero watched him, her arms crossed. There was something different in her expression now, not just amusement, but curiosity. "This human," she muttered. "How is he still standing?" The robotic announcer spoke again. "Competitor Ryan, prepare for round 4. Ryan sighed. Of course, no break. Why would there be a break? The ground trembled. Suddenly, the entire battlefield shifted. The broken droids and debris sank into the floor as the arena restructured itself. A new challenge was forming. Ryan narrowed his eyes. In front of him, a massive wall began to rise. It was made of thick, smooth metal, stretching high into the air. No ladders, no handholds, just an impossible wall. The robotic voice echoed. Round 4, the impossible wall. Objective: reach the top before time runs out. Ryan clenched his fists. Great. Now I'm playing a climbing game. A digital timer appeared above the arena. 3 minutes. The horn blared. Ryan ran forward. He reached the base of the wall and placed his hand against it. It was smooth, too smooth. No cracks, no ledges, nothing to grip. The crowd whispered. Many aliens had failed this trial. Zira smirked. Now let's see if humans can fly. Ryan took a deep breath. He stepped back and analyzed the structure. If climbing was impossible, he needed momentum. He turned, ran full speed, and jumped. His foot hit the wall, and he tried to push off it, reaching upward. Slip. He barely got a meter off the ground before falling back. The crowd laughed. Ryan exhaled, shaking his head. Okay, that didn't work. 2 minutes left. He stepped back and studied the wall again. There had to be a way. Then he noticed something, small vents at the very top. Air was being pumped out. That meant there were gaps in the structure. Ryan's eyes sharpened. There, that's my way up. He took a deep breath. Then he sprinted. As soon as he reached the wall, he kicked off, jumping higher. Before he could fall, he twisted midair and kicked off again. The crowd gasped. Zira's eyes widened. He's using the wall itself. Ryan's movements became faster. He was bouncing off the surface, using small shifts in the wall's texture that most wouldn't notice. Each step brought him higher. He reached halfway. 1 minute left. Ryan pushed harder. His arms burned, his legs ached, but he didn't stop. One final jump, he grabbed the vent at the top. His fingers slipped. The crowd gasped again. For a split second, he felt himself falling. Then he gritted his teeth, swung his other hand up, and caught hold. With a deep breath, he pulled himself over the edge. BEP. The timer hit 0. Silence. Then the crowd exploded in cheers. Ryan lay on the ground at the top of the wall, breathing hard. His muscles burned, but he did it. The robotic announcer spoke. Round 4 complete. Competitor Ryan advances to round 5. Ryan pushed himself up, looking down at the arena. 0 was still watching him. He smirked. Told you. I don't stop. Ryan stood at the top of the impossible wall, breathing heavily. His muscles ached, his hands burned, but he had won. Below, the crowd roared with excitement. Many of them had doubted him, but now they were cheering his name. 0 leaned on the railing, her eyes locked on him. She smirked. He's insane, but he's not losing. The robotic announcer spoke again. Competitor Ryan, prepare for round 5. Ryan sighed. Yeah, bring it on. The ground trembled. The top of the wall opened, revealing a new path, a long metallic corridor. The walls glowed with red energy, and the air hummed with danger. Ryan narrowed his eyes. What now? The robotic voice echoed. Round 5, the Gauntlet of Blades. Objective: reach the exit before time runs out. A digital timer appeared above the entrance. 3 minutes. Ryan frowned. Let me guess, this isn't a simple hallway. Suddenly, the walls came alive. Massive rotating blades slid out from hidden panels, spinning at high speed. The floor shifted, revealing laser traps. The entire corridor was a death trap. The crowd cheered wildly. Ryan clenched his fists. All right, let's do this. The horn blared. Ryan sprinted forward. The first obstacle, a set of horizontal blades. They moved in a pattern, slicing through the air with deadly precision. Ryan watched. Left, right, left, pause. He timed his movement perfectly, jumping, ducking, rolling. The blades whizzed past him, missing by inches. 2 minutes, 30 seconds left. The next section, the floor dropped suddenly, revealing a pit of moving spikes. Ryan barely stopped himself from falling in. He glanced up, hanging bars. He jumped, grabbed a bar, and swung forward. Another set of bars. Swing. Jump. Grab. Move. The spikes below rose suddenly, nearly piercing his foot. Ryan flipped midair and landed safely. The crowd gasped, then cheered even louder. Zira's smirk faded. How was he still moving? No normal fighter could do this. 1 minute, 45 seconds left. Ryan didn't stop. He ran toward the final challenge. A massive spinning blade blocked the exit. It moved in random patterns, changing speed every second. Ryan took a deep breath. He couldn't just run through. He had to predict it. He watched. The blade slowed, then sped up. He counted in his head. 1, 2, 3, now. Ryan jumped. The blade whizzed past him. He twisted in midair, tucking his legs, flipping his body. Whoosh! The blade passed just inches away. Ryan landed hard, rolling forward. He reached the exit just as the timer hit 0. BEP. Silence. Then the arena exploded with cheers. Ryan lay on the ground, staring at the ceiling. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. He did it. The robotic announcer spoke. Round 5 complete. Competitor Ryan advances to round 6. Zira exhaled, shaking her head. She didn't understand this human. No one should be able to do what he was doing. But he just smiled, wiped sweat from his face, and stood up. "I told you," he said, looking up at her. "I don't stop." Ryan stood at the exit of the gauntlet of blades, his body covered in sweat. His muscles ached, but his eyes burned with determination. The alien crowd roared his name. Above, Zira sat in silence, watching him closely. She had seen many warriors fight in this arena. Some were strong, some were fast, but this human was different. "He doesn't stop," she whispered. "You said, Part 8 to 700 words kaleko or interesting hunachaya or third-person style melekniha or simple basic English ka. Don't use any violated word. So please avoid any violated content." ChatGPT said, "Here's part 8 of your HFY Sci-Fi story, keeping it engaging, in third-person style, and with simple English. Human, don't stop. Alien girl left speechless by unbelievable feat." Part 8, The Duel of Honor. Ryan stood at the exit of the Gauntlet of Blades, his body covered in sweat. His muscles ached, but his eyes burned with determination. The alien crowd roared his name. Above, Zira sat in silence, watching him closely. She had seen many warriors fight in this arena. Some were strong, some were fast, but this human was different. "He doesn't stop," she whispered. The robotic announcer spoke again. "Competitor Ryan, prepare for round 6. Ryan wiped sweat from his forehead. "All right, what now?" The ground trembled. A new platform rose from the center of the arena. This time, it wasn't a maze, a death trap, or an impossible climb. It was a battlefield, a wide-open area. No tricks, no obstacles, just a fight. Ryan narrowed his eyes. A duel? The robotic voice continued. Round 6, the Duel of Honor. Objective: defeat the chosen warrior. Ryan exhaled. He had expected something like this. The crowd fell silent. The air grew thick with tension. Then from the opposite side of the arena, a second platform rose. And standing on it was Zira. Ryan's eyes widened. "Wait, you." Zira smirked, stepping forward. She had removed her cape, revealing a sleek combat suit made of reinforced armor. Her silver eyes gleamed with excitement. "That's right, human." She rolled her shoulders, stretching her arms. "You've impressed me. But now, let's see if you can handle a real fight." The crowd exploded with excitement. Ryan cracked his knuckles. "You sure you want to do this?" Zira grinned. "You've beaten droids, monsters, and impossible challenges. But the Xeleri trials aren't complete until you face a true warrior." She stepped into a fighting stance. Ryan sighed. "All right then," he lifted his fists. No more running, no more climbing, just a fight. The horn blared. Zira charged. Ryan barely had time to react before she was on him. She moved fast, faster than anyone he had ever fought. Her first attack was a spinning kick. Ryan raised his arm just in time to block, but the impact sent him sliding backward. She didn't stop. Zira followed up with a rapid series of punches and strikes. Zira twisted midair, avoiding the hit, and landed smoothly. The crowd gasped. Ryan exhaled. "Okay, you're good." Zira smirked. "I know." She was faster, but he was stronger. Zira swung at his head. Ryan blocked. She kicked at his ribs. Ryan absorbed the hit and countered with a powerful hook. Bam! Zira stumbled back. The crowd gasped. No one had ever landed a clean hit on her before. Zira wiped her lip, then grinned. Now we're talking. She lunged forward, feinting left, then slamming her knee into Ryan's stomach. Ryan grunted in pain. He staggered, but didn't fall. He pushed forward, grabbing her arm and twisting. Zira's eyes widened. She flipped her body, escaping his grip, and landed a solid kick to his chest. Ryan slid back, but dug his heels into the ground. Both fighters breathed heavily, staring at each other. The crowd was in a frenzy. This was the best fight of the night. Ryan smirked. Having fun? Zira chuckled, more than I expected. She rolled her shoulders. But let's finish this. Ryan nodded. Agreed. They charged at the same time. Zira jumped, aiming a powerful kick. Ryan dodged, spun, and swept her legs. She fell, but rolled, flipping back onto her feet. Ryan followed up, grabbing her arm and locking her in place. Zira struggled. Ryan tightened his grip. Yield, he said. Zira froze. For the first time in her life, she was trapped. The crowd held its breath. Then she smirked. She tapped his arm. Fine. You win. The horn blared. The robotic announcer spoke. Round 6 complete. Competitor Ryan advances to the final round. The crowd erupted in cheers. Ryan released her, stepping back. You okay? Zira shook her arms, rolling her shoulders. Yeah, that was fun. Ryan chuckled. You hit hard. Zira grinned. So do you. She looked at him, studying him for a long moment. Then she extended her hand. Congratulations, human, she said. You've earned my respect. Ryan smirked and shook her hand. The final round is next, Zira said. Are you ready? Ryan cracked his neck. I don't stop. Ryan stood in the center of the arena, his body sore, but his spirit unshaken. The air was thick with excitement. He had beaten every challenge. The wall, the gauntlet of blades, the duel of honor. Now there was only one challenge left. Zira stood beside him, arms crossed. She was no longer just a competitor. She had become an ally. She glanced at him. This final round, it's not like the others. Ryan smirked. Of course not. The robotic announcer's voice echoed through the arena. Final round, the Titan's judgment. Objective, survive. Ryan's smirk faded. Survive. That's it. Zira's expression turned serious. You'll see. The ground rumbled. The entire arena shook as something massive rose from the underground chambers. Ryan stepped back, eyes widening. A colossal figure emerged, a towering war machine, standing over 20 feet tall. Its body was covered in thick, armored plates. Its arms were massive cannons, and its glowing red eyes locked onto him like a predator watching its prey. The crowd went silent. Then the horn blared. The Titan moved. Ryan jumped back just as a massive energy blast shot from its arm, exploding the ground where he stood. Okay, Ryan muttered. That's a problem. Zira shouted from the sidelines. It has one weakness. The core on its chest. Hit it hard enough, and it will shut down. Ryan dodged another blast. Easier said than done. The Titan stomped forward, shaking the arena. It swung a gigantic metal fist toward him. Ryan rolled to the side, barely escaping the impact. He needed a plan. Speed, that was his only advantage. Ryan sprinted forward, zigzagging to avoid the Titan's attacks. He leaped onto a fallen pillar, then jumped high into the air, aiming for the Titan's core. He swung his fist. Bam! His punch landed, but the Titan barely flinched. Ryan's eyes widened. "Oh, come on." The Titan swatted him away like an insect. Ryan crashed into the ground, coughing. His vision blurred for a second. The impact had knocked the air out of his lungs. The crowd gasped. Zira stepped forward. "Get up, human." Ryan groaned. "I'm working on it." The Titan charged a final energy blast. The glow from its cannon grew brighter. Ryan took a deep breath. He had one shot. He ran toward the Titan at full speed. Not away, toward. The Titan fired. Ryan dodged at the last second, rolling under the energy blast. He leaped onto the Titan's leg, grabbing hold of a small opening in the armor. The Titan tried to shake him off, but Ryan climbed higher. He reached the chest. The core was right in front of him. Ryan clenched his fist. This was it. With every ounce of strength left in his body, he pulled his arm back and punched the core with everything he had. Crack. A massive shockwave erupted from the Titan's chest. The core shattered. The Titan froze. For a moment, there was silence. Then the Titan collapsed, crashing into the ground with a deafening boom. The arena shook. Dust filled the air. Ryan stumbled back, panting. His arms felt like they were on fire. The robotic announcer's voice echoed. "Final round complete. Competitor Ryan, victorious." The crowd erupted. Ryan looked up, exhausted but grinning. Zira approached, shaking her head in disbelief. "You really don't stop, do you?" Ryan chuckled. "Nope." She smirked. "Well, human, you've done the impossible." She held out her hand. Ryan shook it. At that moment he knew he had earned the respect of an entire alien world. Humanity had won.